All right, let's talk about how to learn anything faster. Today, we are going to build you a personalized system based on real science for absorbing and, more importantly, retaining information so you can master whatever skill you set your mind to.
Does this sound familiar to you? You spend an entire weekend, maybe even a whole week, just cramming for a test or trying to get up to speed on a new skill for work. And then, a few days later, poof. It feels like it's all just vanished. And look, that is a deeply frustrating feeling, but I promise you, it's not because you have a bad memory. The good news? This is a totally solvable problem. You see, there's a science to why our brains forget things. And once you understand those rules, you can start working with your brain's natural wiring instead of constantly fighting against it. That's the secret to making new knowledge actually stick.
So, why is this so critical, especially right now? Well, because in a world that is changing faster than ever, the ability to learn effectively isn't just a nice-to-have skill for school. It is a genuine modern superpower. I mean, think about the impact here. When you're the person who can quickly pick up a new piece of software or really wrap your head around a new market trend, you're not just staying competitive, you're opening doors for your career. It's the difference between feeling stuck and feeling like you're always moving forward. And it's all because you're not wasting time relearning stuff you thought you already knew. So how do we start building this superpower? Well, it all begins with understanding your own unique instruction manual. We need to figure out your personal learning blueprint. The very first step is actually pretty simple. It's just a bit of self-awareness. We all have different preferences for how we take in information. So take a look at this. Do you find that a good diagram or a chart just makes everything click? That probably makes you a visual learner. Or maybe you'd rather listen to a podcast or a lecture. That's auditory. Maybe you're someone who absolutely needs to write things down to process them. Or perhaps you have to get your hands dirty and physically do something to truly get it. Now, this isn't a strict box, but knowing your preference is a fantastic starting point. Okay, so once you have an idea of your blueprint, it is time to stock your mental toolkit. And these aren't just little tips and tricks. These are powerful, evidence-based techniques that are going to work no matter what your learning style is. First up, and maybe the most important tool of all, is active recall. So instead of just passively rereading your notes or highlighting a textbook, active recall is the act of forcing your brain to pull information out of storage from scratch. Don't just glance at the answer. Close the book and try to explain the concept out loud. It's like a bicep curl for your brain. The struggle to retrieve the memory is what actually builds the neural pathway and makes it stronger for next time. So if active recall is the what, then spaced repetition is the when. This technique is your secret weapon against what's called the forgetting curve. You know that feeling where information seems to just fade away over time? This technique fights that directly. It works by having you review material right at the moment your brain is about to let it go. So what does this look like in the real world? It's simpler than it sounds. You might review something after 3 days, then again after a week, then 2 weeks later, and so on. By revisiting that information at these specific, increasing intervals, you're sending a really powerful signal to your brain. You're basically saying, hey, this is important, keep this. And that is how you move knowledge from your fragile short-term memory into solid long-term storage. Our third power tool is the Feynman technique, and it's named after the brilliant physicist Richard Feynman. And the genius of it is its simplicity. The core idea is this. If you can't explain a concept in simple, everyday language, you don't really understand it yet. It is the ultimate acid test for your own comprehension. So here's how the 4-step loop works. First, you pick a concept. Second, you try to teach it to someone. A friend, a coworker, even just an empty chair works, using the simplest terms you can. Third, and this is the crucial part, you pay very close attention to where you get stuck or where you have to use complicated jargon. Those are your knowledge gaps. And fourth, you go back to the source material to fill those gaps, and then you try to simplify your explanation again. It's a really beautiful and effective cycle. Okay, so you know your preferences, and you've got these incredible tools in your toolkit. Now it's time to put it all together into a structured workflow. Because great learning isn't just about what techniques you use, it's about how and when you use them. To manage your focus and your energy, we're going to bring in the Pomodoro technique. Now, this isn't strictly a learning technique itself. It's more of a system for creating the perfect mental state for learning.
It helps you avoid that mental burnout and makes your study sessions way more productive.
And the cycle is just incredibly simple. You set a timer for 25 minutes, and for those 25 minutes, you give the task your complete, undivided attention. No phone, no email, just pure focus. When the timer goes off, you take a mandatory 5-minute break to do something else. After you've done 4 of these cycles, you take a longer, more restorative break of about 20 or 30 minutes. This rhythm protects your brain from fatigue and keeps you sharp.
Now, those breaks, they are way more important than you think. That's because they allow your brain to switch between 2 critical modes of thinking. The 25-minute sprints of focus, that's your focused thinking at work. It's like a laser beam, perfect for analyzing details. But the breaks, they trigger diffuse thinking. This is that relaxed, daydreamy state where your brain makes all sorts of surprising and creative connections in the background. To truly learn something complex, you absolutely need both.
All right, we've covered the what and the how, but the final piece of this puzzle is, without a doubt, the most important one. It's your mindset. This is what truly separates the good learners from the master learners.
This quote really gets to the heart of what's known as a growth mindset. It's all about making a fundamental shift in how you see yourself. It's moving from a thought like, I'm just bad at this, to a thought like, okay, I'm not good at this yet. That one little word changes everything. A mistake stops being a failure and just becomes information. And hard work isn't a sign of weakness. It's the actual process of getting smarter.
So, how do you make this mindset practical? Well, you start to embrace challenges instead of hiding from them. You learn to value the effort you're putting in, not just the final grade or the outcome. You actively go looking for feedback, even when it's tough to hear. And when you fail, because we all fail, you see it as valuable data, not as a judgment on who you are. This mindset is the engine that will power all of the other techniques for the rest of your life.
So there you have it, a blueprint to understand yourself, a powerful toolkit of techniques, a workflow to maintain focus, and the master mindset to bring it all together. You have the entire system. The only question left is, what are you going to build with it?